welcome to our first Model Citizens Assembly. Tonight we'll be discussing the question, should the UK join the TPNW? Now, Peace Child International, who are running this event, are neutral in this. We are here to give you the opportunity to make your own mind up. So this Model Citizens Assembly is a direct result of the UN 75 anniversary events that Laser and UNA UK organised and asked Peace Child to be involved with. That's how I and many of the other people involved in organising this Model Citizens Assembly became involved. Now, although the festival, like the film that we just watched, didn't directly mention the TPNW, it just so happens that during our final festival concert and intergenerational dialogue on the 2020 UN Day, the TPNW received its final UN member state ratification that it needed to come into force. So today's event is it's a direct product of the UN 75 anniversary events. We feel that in a way we're continuing that conversation, that large global conversation that the UN wanted to make central to the celebrations. Therefore, we are delighted to have the Under-Secretary General Fabrizio Hochschild, the leader of the brilliant team who organised the UN 75 anniversary events last year, who has kindly agreed to say a few words to introduce our event. Mr. Hochschild is from Chile and is an Oxford University graduate. He joined the UN in 1988 and has served in it ever since, in more countries and more roles than you could possibly imagine. So before taking on the job of the UN, the job of organising the UN 75 anniversary events, he served as the head of the strategic coordination in the Executive Office of the Secretary General. Mr. Hochschild, thank you for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you, Lauren, and warm greetings to all of you. A very good evening. I just, before anything else, like to express my solidarity with you in the strict lockdown you're in now. Our thoughts with all of you. I'm really delighted to be able to join this Model Citizens Assembly held on the same day that the General Assembly met for the very first time in London 75 years ago. Over the past 12 months, Peace Child International, as Lauren indicated, the organizers of this event, has been one of the UN 75's most active and innovative partners, producing engaging materials on the UN, its achievements and the challenges it faces, and also holding UN 75 dialogues with young people in the United Kingdom, Estonia, Tunisia, and in other parts of the world, and generating thought-provoking proposals for action, from a digital UN to an annual State of the Planet update. By all accounts, in this, our 75th year, our planet is in a particularly precarious state. COVID-19 continues to exact a great toll on our health system and our economies. And prior to the pandemic, social inequalities, geopolitical tensions, and the disruption of new technologies were already testing the capacity of our institutions. And those challenges have only been exacerbated through the pandemic. As we face existential challenges from climate change to the threat of nuclear war, which we'll be discussing today, the Secretary General has repeatedly warned that the nuclear menace is growing amidst a resurgence of superpower friction and rivalry and a breakdown in international disarmament agreements. And it's against this background of rising global challenges and diminished volition for international cooperation that my office launched the UN 75 initiative in January last year. The Secretary General wanted us to initiate a global listening tour to seek new inspiration from we the peoples. So we reached out to people across the world through events and surveys and asked them about their hopes and fears for the future and their expectations of international cooperation and of the UN in particular. More than 1.5 million people took part from all 193 UN member states. And this is what they said. Against the backdrop of the pandemic, their immediate priority is to improve access to basic services, and related to that, to increase support to the hardest hit communities and countries. Looking to the future, the overwhelming concerns of the climate crisis and destruction of our natural environment. This was articulated by all respondents in all regions of the world. Critically, in spite of growing isolation and polarization that characterizes our world, over 97% of respondents said they believe that international cooperation is at the very least fairly important, and the majority said it was essential to deal with today's challenges. 74% said they believe the UN is essential to tackling the challenges ahead. But there's no room for complacency. Respondents are not looking for more of the same, and the views are not uncritical of our current forms of international cooperation or uncritical of how the UN is working now. Throughout the thousands of dialogues held across the world, participants called on the UN to take very concrete steps to better uphold and show moral leadership, to reform the Security Council, and for more focus on today's most pressing global challenges, including nuclear weapons, which ranked as the 5th highest threat in our global survey. 75 years on, we can count arms control and the disarmament frameworks among the UN's achievements, but these are now being questioned. The threat of a third world war, a nuclear war, which was very much at the forefront of the minds of our founders, has been contained, but we're yet to live up to the UN's charter call for peace and security, and I quote, with the least diversion for armaments of the world's human and economic resources. That's Article 26 of our charter. And we are yet to live up to that first General Assembly resolution, which called for peaceful use exclusively of nuclear power. That's why I'm delighted you're holding this Model Citizens Assembly today. The very first resolution adopted by the General Assembly called for proposals to be made on the elimination of atomic weapons. And from the outset, our current Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, clear that he wanted youth to be the driving force in his mandate, and in particular of our UN 75 initiative. Younger people, as we saw from our surveys, are instinctively more cosmopolitan, more multilateral. Your reality has always been a world that is deeply interconnected, where your hopes and fears, challenges and opportunities, friendships and horizons are shaped by what happens in places both close and far away. Our consultation found that young people are generally more optimistic about the future. And I'm optimistic because of you. You've been instrumental in getting the world to pay more attention to one of the world's existential challenges, climate change. You can do the same for the other challenges we face. The year 2020 will not be remembered for being the UN's 75th anniversary. But I firmly believe that if you, work collectively to take forward the call to action that emerged from our global consultation, then it may yet come to be seen as the year we finally changed course to a safer, fairer, and more sustainable world. Thank you.